What's going on, guys? Tony Maritato here. So we had a great question come up in one of the Facebook groups, and I've covered this in my Zero to Paid Medicare billing course. But the question was talking about how do you handle cancellations, no-shows? How do you reduce the negative effect? And I'm the first one to admit the biggest challenge to a clinic's profitability is managing cancellations and no-shows. Now, there's two major trains of thought when it comes to this kind of situation. You're going to see lots of clinicians who are going to post lots of comments talking about cancellation fees and, three strikes and you're out and punitive action. To me, that just doesn't make sense. I mean, I understand you guys are running a business. I'm running a business. So I have an option. We always say you can't manage people, you can manage the system. I can't force a certain person to comply with scheduled appointments. They don't necessarily realize the impact it has, not just on me, on their wellness, on other patients not getting visits, but I'm not in the business of changing their behavior when it comes to valuing my time. I want to change the system. So while we don't have a cancellation policy per se, we don't have cancellation fees, we have a very liberal policy on cancellations and no-shows. We've built systems behind that. Just a quick example before I get into the main topic here. We have a wellness program. We have lots of patients on non-covered maintenance services. And so as a classic example, let's pretend I schedule one patient an hour and I've got a 10 a.m. appointment booked, and that patient doesn't arrive. The patient doesn't show up. They didn't call. They didn't give me notice. Yes, I could penalize that patient. I can give them a $50, no-show fee. What's that really going to achieve? $50 is not going to move the revenue needle for me, but $50 would absolutely be enough for that patient to make the decision, you know what? I'm never going back to that clinic again. And they just disappear. And now, because of a single cancellation, no-show, and punitive $50, maybe I lost $1,000 in the remainder of the plan of care. But worse than that, I made that patient feel probably insecure, angry, upset. What do you think they're going to go back and tell their surgeon? Do you think they're going to go back and tell their surgeon, I missed an appointment and there was a cancellation fee and I didn't want to pay the $50, so I never went back? No. They're going to tell their surgeon that we were a terrible therapy clinic. We did a terrible job. They can't believe that, they even gave it a chance, blah, blah, blah. So, point being, if we have people in the clinic that are on non-covered maintenance programs but have an open plan of care, and if any of the people in the clinic at the time of the opening are coming close to due for a follow-up session that is a covered service, guess what? I just solved my no-show problem. Now the patient who's in the clinic becomes an active patient. I do the planned follow-up session to update the maintenance program, assess their progress, establish new goals, provide the services that require the skills of a therapist. That becomes a billable service. And I've totally negated the fact that the scheduled appointment didn't happen as it was intended. But that aside, the question in this video is about how do we empower the person working at the front desk, the person who's answering the phone, how do we empower them to make choices, give them the tools to reduce the harmful effects of the no-show? So I'm going to give you 5 things. This is kind of our standard procedure. What happens when a patient, let's go with a simple case. Patient calls to cancel. Maybe they call the same morning. Maybe they call before the appointment. I always teach in my class, I'm like, look, when the phone rings in our clinic, anybody who answers the phone should look at the phone before answering to see the caller ID. If it's a person or a name or a number we don't recognize, I'm going to assume this is probably either a new patient wanting the schedule, or I'm going to assume it's somebody looking for medical records or asking a question. But a lot of times when I look, it's going to be the name of the patient who might be scheduled in 5 minutes, 10 minutes, 20 minutes. So immediately I know if they're calling, they're probably calling because they're not going to come to their appointment. So what are the tools my front desk, my receptionist has to handle that? Number 1, they look at the phone, they identify who it is, they start to create a plan in their head. They answer the phone, the patient says, oh, hi, I'm sorry, I can't make it. Okay, no problem, Mrs. Patient. Well, let me ask you this. It's still early in the day. We have openings through the rest of the day. How about, since you can't make the 10 o'clock appointment, we schedule you for a 2:30 appointment or a 5 o'clock appointment? And let's say, number one fails. They cannot reschedule for later on the same day. Okay, Mrs. Patient, no problem. We keep our Fridays reserved for makeup appointments. So since you were prescribed, 3 visits a week, this is early in the week, let me get you scheduled to make up today's session on Friday. Let's say for some reason they can't make up the session in the same day. They can't make up the session in the same week. Okay, Mrs. Patient, I totally understand. No problem. You are scheduled for tomorrow or the next day. I just want to confirm that time still works for you. Okay, great. When the patient comes in, we book them for an additional session on the following week. Now, if you look at the Medicare guidelines, at least, making these little micro adjustments, as long as it's within the plan of care, is not going to cause any problems. It's not going to require that you change your certified plan of care. So we've got 3 options so far. Schedule them same day, later appointment. Schedule them an extra appointment during the same week. Schedule them an additional appointment on the subsequent week. Let's say they can't do any of those things. Okay, Mrs. Patient, no problem. I totally understand. Let's just confirm you're coming back in on such and such date, and we'll go from there. When the receptionist hangs up the phone, they look at tomorrow's schedule. They look at this afternoon's schedule. They look later in the week. Maybe you have an evaluation that is scheduled tomorrow. First thing you do, you call up that evaluation. Hi, Mrs. Patient. Guess what? This is Tony from physical therapy. I just wanted to let you know we got an opening right now. I know it's kind of short notice, but I know that you've been dealing with this shoulder pain for a while. The therapist is here. If you want to come down for the session, it's available right now. So come on down. That gives me an option to move a potential future appointment up. And if it's a new patient and they just can't make it, then I look at other patients that are scheduled into the future. There's a time value of money here that we need to discuss. So let's say that I've got a patient on a Monday, Wednesday, Thursday plan of care. The current opening is in 5 minutes and it's on a Tuesday. I'm going to look at Thursday's schedule to see if any of those patients would potentially come in today, or maybe people that did get on the schedule for Friday, if they can come in. If I can move future appointments sooner, that means the money comes into the clinic quicker. That means the patient gets a positive outcome, a beneficial experience sooner. Everything is better if we can move it up and make it happen sooner. Plus, you reduce the chances that something happens for that patient. Heaven forbid they get hospitalized or they get into an accident or they get sick in the future. If I get that appointment in today, I don't have to worry about those risks. So those are the 5 ways that we empower our front desk, our administrative staff, to say, look, yes, I want you to have a 100% arrival rate. Yes, I understand the therapist has a huge influence on that, but the therapist is busy and not answering the phone. So the person who's going to make the biggest impact in this patient's life right here, right now, is you, because you're the one answering the phone. You're the one talking to them on a regular basis. And so I want you to have the tools to help that patient get the best possible outcome, and in the process, help the clinic to continue to operate efficiently and profitably, because without efficiency and without profit, we don't have a clinic, right? Now, if you're running a clinic that's booking 3, 4, 5 patients an hour per clinician, everybody's going to be happy when someone cancels. Everybody's going to be happy when someone no-shows. But if you're running a clinic that's booking one-on-one physical therapy sessions, you cannot afford to let those sessions go unutilized. These are strategies that could help. If you have strategies of your own, absolutely drop them in the comments below. I'd love to hear from you. And I hope this answers the question from Facebook. Guys, I'll catch you on the next video. Thanks for watching.